Martial law has been declared over the entire island of Mindanao in the Philippines. President Rodrigo Duterte made the call last week after the self-proclaimed Islamic State took control of parts of a local city. RT correspondent Anya Parampil takes a look at IS and the Philippines and other places outside of the Middle East.
While discussion of the so-called Islamic State in the media is often confined to the group's presence in Iraq and Syria, offshoots exist in parts of the world you may not expect. On Tuesday, the Philippine Marines pulled back the black flag of the Islamic State down from the skies of Marawi City as part of operations which began Monday. The Marines are responding to the Abu Sayyaf and Maute groups, both which have adopted the black IS flag. The Wall Street Journal describes these groups as Islamist gangs known for their brutality. Reporting in the past week, they murdered at least 16 Marawi residents, including a child. Success on the battlefield could help them recruit more local fighters and embolden other groups to strike in Mindanao, which has a sizable Muslim population in the otherwise Christian nation. Abu Sayyaf and the Maute group are fighting for a stronghold in the city of Marawi. A decade ago, the island of Mindanao was a base for the Indonesian militant group linked with al-Qaeda, known as Jemaah Islamiyah, which is now also linked to the Islamic State. Each of these groups, which have aligned under the umbrella of the self-proclaimed Islamic State, are Salafi groups, which adhere to a strict form of Islam known as Wahhabism, the state religion of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi has worked for decades to export this ideology. For example, in the country of Indonesia alone, The Atlantic reports since 1980, Saudi Arabia has devoted millions of dollars to exporting its strict brand of Islam, Salafism, to historically tolerant and diverse Indonesia. It has built more than 150 mosques, a huge free university in Jakarta, and several Arabic language institutes, supplied more than 100 boarding schools with books and teachers, brought in preachers and teachers, and dispersed thousands of scholarships for graduate study in Saudi Arabia. All this adds up to a deep network of Saudi influence. The result has been the spread of Wahhabi ideology from Chechnya to China, Syria, the Philippines, and beyond, with foreign fighters flocking to Iraq, Libya, and Syria. The Islamic State was able to establish itself in those countries following the Western and Gulf state-backed removal or destabilization of those three governments. Since 2011, it's estimated between 27,000 and 31,000 foreign fighters went to Syria and Iraq from at least 81 different countries. A 2015 study conducted by the Sufan Group found fighters from Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, and Russia make up the top three demographics. And in Asia, countries like the Philippines, which have struggled to fight extremist groups for decades, have seen those militias align under the banner of the self-proclaimed Islamic State. In Washington, Anya Parampil, RT.
As the Islamic State loses ground in Iraq and Syria, its followers are trying to open a new front here in Southeast Asia. Five weeks ago, militants loyal to IS seized control of this city. Government forces are still fighting to take it back. Over 4 days in Marawi, we watched airstrike after airstrike. Bombers overhead, diving towards their targets. They've been living through this here every day for more than a month now. There's no end in sight.
We're pretty close to the front line here. The fighting is intense and it is sustained. It has been going on like this now for several hours. You can see the minarets of the mosque over there, which is where they think these militants are basing themselves. And this is part of the problem for the Philippines military. They train to fight these rebels in jungle conditions, but this is now close quarters urban warfare. They are fighting here now street to street, at times house to house.
As the call to prayer echoes out across the city, we film more troops heading back to reload. Through the gunfire, you can hear loudspeakers broadcasting constantly, urging the rebels to surrender. They show no intention of doing so. The Islamic State news agency released this video. It claims these are its soldiers fighting in the streets of Marawi. A few hundred men holding out against an army and an ally of the United States. This is powerful propaganda intended to draw more recruits to their cause. Sky News drone footage from inside the rebel-held territory shows the mosque believed to be their headquarters. It can't be targeted, but whole streets have been flattened beyond. What was the commercial heart of Marawi, now a city of rubble and flames. Hundreds of civilians are still thought to be trapped and hiding here. This commanding officer told us some of those caught by the militants are being used as slaves and orderlies, some as human shields.
And you believe some of them are being dressed up by the militants?
Those hostages are being dressed. We have some visuals of this one, that they are being dressed with a black like robe. We believe these are civilians because we can easily see how they move.
We're trying to reach a family we've heard is still in touch with relatives inside. But nowhere in the city is safe now.
Yeah, guys, straight down to the blue vehicle and then directly across. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, everyone happy?
There's a danger from sniper fire in the street, so we have to line up and run across the road.
Okay, right, let's go.
As we reach the door, a bullet lands less than a metre from our team. It seems we're being targeted.
Every day, thin sniper, bullets, because we don't know what is the purpose of this multi-groups or ISIS group. And that is why, till now, we feel nervous, traumas, especially the children.
We'd planned to stay inside until the sniper threat passed, but then a fire starts. The only way out is back the way we've come.
Okay, he's there. You ready?
All right.
Yeah. All right. So, Becky, you're going to go first because you need to get into the back of the vehicle. Go.
I'll go in second.
Okay, go.
Get down here.
Okay. Get in. Close the door. Go. Go, boy, go. Stay down. Once we clear this mosque, we'll be okay.
Further on and out of immediate danger, we see the reinforcements rolling in. A long convoy of armoured personnel carriers heading into the city. More soldiers packed onto trucks. Graffiti marks the route the militants took. ISIS slogans painted on the shutters. Above the street stalls, blackened bananas have been left to rot where they hang. Most of the 250,000 people who lived here have fled. We pass a dead dog abandoned in the road. They've set up checkpoints at every entrance to the city to search for men and ammunition trying to get in and any fighters trying to escape.
And the last is the younger Maudi.
So these are the Mauti brothers, the leaders of this group.
They are the founder who found the Mauti group.
The attack was led by two groups, the Mauti, led by brothers Omar and Abdullah, and Isnilon Hapalon, one of the FBI's most wanted terrorists, seen here and said to be planning the attack with Abdullah Mauti. Both groups have pledged their allegiance to the Islamic State. This region, with its poverty, lawlessness and the legacy of decades of conflict, is fertile ground for would-be new militants. This man's nephew was killed in Marawi fighting for the Mauti. He says there are many more like him.
Actually, sa Cotabato, mismo sa area namin is siguro ang pinakamababa 10. Mismo sa barangay namin. Actually, marami nang namatay sa itong nangyayari diyan. Ang marami siyang na-convince na babaeng mga bata, lalaki, babae, na mga bata.
In this video last June, IS called for those who could not reach Syria to head for the Philippines instead. A number of foreign fighters have already been found amongst the dead. Back in Marawi, to mark the end of Ramadan, a temporary ceasefire was declared, a brief humanitarian pause. A small group of volunteers armed with megaphones and religious leaders headed in towards the front line, risking their own lives to try to save others, to try to bring some of those trapped to safety. But as we waited for news, shots were fired into our street.
This is meant to be a ceasefire. There are negotiators in there right now trying to get permission to bring these civilians out. But there are bullets coming down this street, so we're all just taking cover. Yeah.
Three hours later, the rescue teams returned. In the arms of one of the soldiers, a 14-month-old baby girl. Her bewildered family huddled in the back. They'd been hiding in a basement for 33 days. Dazed and exhausted, they still had to be interviewed by the military, but at least now they were safe. The father finally able to give his daughter fresh water to drink and to explain what they had been through. His wife had given birth to their second child while they were trapped. Their baby did not survive.
May bumabagsak, sir. Upo lang kami sa dumapa lang kami sa lupa.
Yung baby ko naman, anong reaction ng baby pag every time may ganun?
Yung umiiyak.
In the back of an ambulance nearby, the body of a 72-year-old man. Hassan Ali had suffered a stroke. He died before he could be reached. Even as we filmed, the fighting resumed, the ceasefire over. One family rescued, now on their way to hospital. But how many more left behind? Katie Stallard, Sky News, Marawi City.
We are traveling with the Philippine military to Bangon, a village in Marawi, the city at the center of the month-long battle with Maute fighters. Government forces regained control of the village and want to show us how far they have advanced. The security situation remains unstable. Marawi used to be one of the most thriving cities on the island of Mindanao. Now it's reduced to this. Maute gunmen pledge allegiance to ISIL and want to set up an Islamic state in the Lanao province of Mindanao. Philippine Army commanders say the human cost of regaining control of the city is steep. More than 200 people killed so far, hundreds feared trapped, and thousands forced from their homes.
I just want to show you over there, that village, smoke billowing 500 meters away from here, is one of the last remaining battleground of the Maute group.
And they are trigger happy. Our vehicle came under fire. This is a military-controlled area, but there are no safe zones here. Bullets continue to fly, even in places previously cleared. One of the last remaining Maute strongholds is on the eastern bank of the Agos River. Despite thousands of soldiers and relentless airstrikes, resistance from the Maute remains. Marawi has long been plagued by a violent tradition of clan wars, or rido. Family feuds can last for decades here, which is why many houses are designed like military garrisons. Bunkers like this one are common here, and this has made fighting the Maute difficult.
We will continue to push towards the center of the gravity of the enemy and find them and fix them. And the end goal is to liberate Marawi and flush out the local terrorist group.
The best of the military's hardware is already here. For Filipinos who have lost their homes, the siege has already lasted far too long. The government says it now has taken control of more than 90% of Marawi, but it still can't say when the operation will be over. Jamala Alindogan, Al Jazeera, Marawi City, Southern Philippines. Morning breaks and it's the first day of Ramadan. What was once a period of reflection for the evacuees who fled from Marawi, now it feels like a time of great uncertainty. It is not how they imagined life would be. They left their home in haste, leaving everything that they worked hard for behind. Now, many of them live in evacuation camps like this one across nearby provinces in the southern Philippines. How is your situation here? We asked. It is a life of indignity, one of them told us. Sumaya Limpao escaped from Marawi while she was in labor. She gave birth in a medical center near the camp.
I am afraid my boy will die here. Look at the situation here. He is so small and I am scared.
The Philippine military is battling around 60 members of the Maute, a local armed group that has pledged allegiance to ISIL. We traveled to the heart of Marawi. Its streets have now become a battleground.
We're now embedded with state forces as they get to one of those areas cleared and recently recovered by the Philippine military. Even if the areas are mostly cleared, there are still snipers positioned everywhere, so we're told to basically walk briskly, but also prepared to run if we have to. We just had a little encounter here.
There are reports that most of the rebels are holed up in just one area. But from where we are, it seems as though around half of it is not yet fully cleared. There was also a breakdown of leadership. Most of the government officials here have either fled or their facilities taken over by fighters. So they are reorganizing.
I need to encourage everyone, especially the LGUs, to speak up and at the same time to step up their initiatives in supporting the security operation, the clearing operation, and at the same time, at most, is the humanitarian consideration.
Most of the residents here are gone, but the streets are a testament to just how much their lives have been interrupted by the violence. Jamela Lindogan, Al Jazeera, Marawi City, Southern Philippines. This is a morgue in Iligan, the largest city close to Marawi. 11 bodies being prepared for a mass burial. We were told they were brought here weeks ago from Marawi. The embalmers opened one of the caskets. I recognize her shoes. This is the body of a girl I saw huddled close to her dead mother 3 weeks ago. We had joined police during their operations. They retrieved a total of 14 bodies that day, including this girl, who remains nameless. The military has been on a full-scale offensive to take back control of Marawi City from an ISIL-inspired group called Maute, which raised its black flag over several government facilities. It's feared hundreds of people may still be trapped as fighting continues.
We are still receiving distress calls on the ground, and we are continuously communicating with them. I think the challenge now is how the cell phones will survive. But we are trying our best to identify their location so that we will be able to protect them.
Many thousands have managed to escape and are living in evacuation centers across Lanao province. But most of those who died in the fighting are brought here.
The situation is similar all across Iligan. Marawi City does not have the capabilities to handle and process all these bodies that are being brought in.
Iligan is now facing a growing humanitarian problem.
In Iligan, we are ready to help with whatsoever, particularly with the internal displaced and the services for those who died. We will bury them, we will help them with the funeral arrangements.
Another body is brought in from Marawi. We are told he was killed the previous night, but he will have to wait. There are not enough embalmers for the number of casualties. Religious traditions may not always be followed. The dead are now just numbers. There are no loved ones to mourn them. But people say at least there is a place for them here, and they are given a semblance of dignity in death. Jamela Alindogan, Al Jazeera, Iligan City, Southern Philippines.